Welcome to Newshour. Now, in a surreal twist that reads like political satire, The Atlantic's editor-in-chief, Jeffrey Goldberg, was accidentally included in a Signal group chat with senior Trump administration officials discussing classified plans for airstrikes against the Houthis in Yemen. Well, let's dig into the timeline of how this alarming situation played out. On March the 11th, 2025, Goldberg received a connection request from someone identified as National Security Advisor Mike Waltz. 2 days later, he was added to a chat titled Houthi PC Small Group involving Vice President J.D. Vance, Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, and other top officials. Well, participants openly exchanged sensitive military strategy, assuming everyone present belonged to that group legitimately. Well, despite Goldberg's suspicions of a hoax or disinformation, the chat continued with real-time planning updates, including operational details and notifications about briefings. On March the 15th, Mr. Goldberg received a message at 11:44 a.m. with exact information on weapons packages and timings for targets. Well, 2 hours later, US strikes commenced. The White House later confirmed the breach, raising urgent questions about security protocols in Trump's second term. Jeffrey Goldberg never responded in the group and refrained from publishing classified names. So, at a time when the US is engaged on many critical diplomatic fronts, including peace talks with Russia and Ukraine in Saudi Arabia, how could such an embarrassing error occur? Kate Fisher reports now from Washington, D.C.
Well, Guy, these kind of sensitive conversations would usually be conducted over secure government communications, but instead, this was conducted over a commercial messaging app, Signal, and it involved the members of Donald Trump's top national security team, the director of the CIA, secretaries of state and defense, the national security advisor, the vice president. And in it, they didn't only discuss sensitive military information about an ongoing military plan, but also how they felt about Europe, with Pete Hegseth calling Europe pathetic and J.D. Vance, the vice president, saying he hated bailing out Europe again. The White House has said that the messaging thread appears to be authentic, and the National Security Council has said it will be investigating how a number was inadvertently added to this thread, the number of a journalist who was included on this thread discussing these military plans. Donald Trump, the president, has denied having any knowledge of it, and the defense secretary, who actually messaged the details of this operation, has said that he did not do it. Well, Democrats are calling for an investigation. Chuck Schumer, the Democrat Senate leader, saying that this was one of the most stunning military intelligence breaches in a long time, and there are even analysts who suggest that this was a violation of the law of the Espionage Act, which is the law that covers how officials handle sensitive information.
Well, joining me now to discuss a challenging 24 hours for US diplomacy is the contributing editor of Newsweek magazine, Peter Roth. Mr. Roth, thank you very much indeed for joining us. Let's start then with this worrying group chat security breach. How on earth could the internal security protocols allow this to happen?
Well, it's good to be with you, and I will say, as mistakes go, this is a butte, which leads the conspiratorial turn of my mind to wonder if it wasn't somehow planned. I can't see why they'd want to do that, but you know, there's a slight possibility that exists. But typically, something like this would be blamed on bad staff work. I mean, you don't really imagine the National Security Advisor to the President sitting down at his computer and assembling a group chat. That would be done by staff. And I suspect that what happened is that they wanted one Jeffrey Goldberg and got a different Jeffrey Goldberg. The interesting question here, and I'm not sure I'm the one to provide the answer, but I can certainly raise it. Are the journalistic ethics involved in Mr. Goldberg not announcing that he was on the call and identifying himself? I'm not sure that if I were in his shoes, I wouldn't have done that. If I wouldn't have said, you know what, you've got me in this chat, I'm not supposed to be here, I'm leaving, despite the fact that it's a chance for a good story. I'm not so sure that publishing this was the right thing to do.
Yeah, ethics, some questions to answer when it comes to ethics for sure, Peter. Also the technology. You know, are encrypted messaging apps like Signal really appropriate for high-level war planning? Do you think we've all just become too relaxed about these supposed secure messaging systems when it comes to the online world? That, you know, is there really such a thing in 2025 as a totally secure digital line of communication?
Oh, we could do a whole show just on this subject. First of all, no, I don't believe that there is such a thing in the commercial world, in the publicly available world, as a totally encrypted chat program. They're made, which again raises the possibility that this is somehow deliberate. And I know that sounds insane, but I've got to believe that the NSA and the National Security Administration and other government intelligence agencies do have the last word in encrypted communication software. So why are they using something off the shelf that's not secure? You may think it's secure, but it's not secure. It's certainly not secure for a conversation like this.
Very interesting. Yeah, it's it seems to have become, you know, part of the way that some government ministers in various countries seem to do business, and yeah, as you say, very, very concerning indeed. Now, turning to
we get used to this, like talking on Zoom or talking on the phone, and you forget to distinguish between important things and mundane things, and that's also a very human mistake. I mean,
and do you think there's something
I don't want to minimize.
No, you're right, Peter. And do you think there's something culturally as well? I mean, government ministers, cabinet ministers, government secretaries are very, very busy individuals. They're human too. They've got lives and families. When you're on the go 24/7, do you think perhaps sometimes lines get blurred and individuals simply just forget that actually these things might look secure, but that doesn't always mean that they are?
Lines get blurred all the time, sometimes deliberately. Think back to the Obama administration. Secretary Hillary Clinton had an unsecured server at her house in Chappaqua, New York, through which classified materials passed. We were told that it was no big deal. A number of people, including me, raised concerns about it. As I am concerned about this seems to be an incident rather than a system. And an incident is easier to fix than a system. A system to get around government reporting requirements, a system to get around logging, a system to avoid classification protections. I think that this is, until we know otherwise, needs to be considered human error. Fortunately, no one was injured or killed as a result of, it's not really appropriate to call it a leak, but I'm not sure what to call it, this unintended disclosure of information. But certainly it is a warning to the administration that they have to be careful, because unlike other administrations, this one, the Trump administration, has actual enemies in the American media who are dedicated to the proposition that they don't belong in office and need to be brought down. And so any kind of mistake they make will be amplified over what might have been the case if the president was Bill Clinton or George Bush or Barack Obama.
Mr. Roth in Washington, D.C. for us, thank you very much indeed for your analysis.
Thank you.
Well, that is all we have time for on tonight's show. Please do stay with us for plenty more news and analysis. And from the whole team here in Baku, thank you for watching.